Hey guys, Father Time. While this boots up, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to do a delivery flight of a brand spanking new MD-11 in TFDi colors from Long Beach, the birthplace of the MD-11, using the Freaky D scenery pack and bring it on over to Las Vegas. Just because it's a short flight. It's also a good RNAV departure and an RNAV arrival. Challenges the airplane, and I'm actually on the quality assurance team, and it's my job today to test out the latest build. There we are. I'm going to put this into American Airlines, out of American Airlines colors. I'm going to put it into TFDi livery right there. And I'm going to go to Long Beach. Okay, Long Beach. And I'm going to make it daylight here. It's only 6:15 in the morning. I do this stuff when I can. This over here is not part of the real package at Long Beach. It's the Freaky D. All over here is the McDonnell Douglas vintage 1994 delivery area, and I'm going to put this airplane here. It's a straight out taxi and ramp. I'll show you that in a minute. It's kind of cool. We use live weather. No, we're going to use live. I've been doing FSiPanel live weather, and we're all good to go. Got McDonnell Douglas. Okay. While this boots up, I want to show you a few things. You got to go over to my Discord. I'm going to show you why. Join our Discord. Here's general chat. Great group of guys. Very active general chat area. All sorts of things over here. But right down here, if you look, MD-11 manuals. Where I go to MD-11 manuals, all these things are available for your taking and your loving. Here we go. Let me show you what they look like. We're going to be using these today. Here's the pre-flight checklist. That's there. This is the flow. I made these all up, guys, from various sources. I flew this back in 1992 to 97 with American Airlines as a co-pilot. And then this is a checklist normal. They're all printable and foldable, just like the old-fashioned. You could print this on cardboard stock if you want, or just regular stock, staple them back to back, fold them, and you've got yourself a real live checklist. Anything you see me do with the FMS is in here. I made up an FMS checklist, some real good stuff in there. Emergency procedures checklist. If you want to play around chopping engines and doing things, you can. This will get you up to the expanded checklist, which we don't have yet, but those are coming by the end of the year. But right now you can use this. Here's the history of the airplane. Click anywhere in the table of contents. You can see dimensions. Do anything you want. Always go back to the table of contents right there. This is the flight training manual. So don't tell me you don't have anything to work with. One engine approach and go around right here. All sorts of information there. Interactive systems guide. I made this up. I made up a lot of these panels myself, but some of them are also go home here. Some of them are also from, let's go engine hydraulic panel there. Hydraulic panel from the UPS pilots via their website right here. It's an inactive site, but it's still accurate in terms of it's now it's there. That's interactive systems panel, real cool. Here's some holding information on the MD-11, what everything means, and lastly the GPWS test mode, what they meant. Fabio Almeida, the guy over, one of the developers, made that up. But we're not going to need that one. We're not going to need holding. We're not going to need the systems. We're not going to need flight training or history. And I hope we don't need emergency. I'll leave the FMS checklist and the normals. We'll start with the pre-flight. Our flight today, here it is, Long Beach. We're going to take a look at the facility to Las Vegas. And we got the PDF all set to go too. What could go wrong? Here it is. Beautiful TFDi paint job. They asked me to fly this on part of the test program today. They saw a little bit of pink around the APU, and that this thing just keeps getting better and better, guys. Honestly does. Beautiful. Anyway, let's go. Big fan. I realized I haven't done, I'm going to make this daylight here. I thought I did, but I guess I didn't. What I realized is I think I went to live weather in there. I haven't done a delivery flight yet. I used to do a lot of it when we were in the beta testing mode. Let me show you around here. It's really cool. Very, very cool indeed. Let me go out here. So Freaky D, who's also one of our quality assurance guys, he's also a Boeing engineer, has created the McDonnell Douglas delivery ramp from vintage 1994. Remember, Boeing bought it, a McDonnell Douglas, and so he actually, MD-11, even though it's McDonnell Douglas, he's a Boeing guy. It's near and dear to his heart, and he created this. He's got like 140 scenery packs. It's his hobby. Does them all for free over on flightsim.to. Here it is, McDonnell Douglas delivery facility. I just realized I hadn't done one of these since the developers, we were doing the development of the aircraft. Look at that, McDonnell Douglas fly DC jets. Freaky tells me that this is the paint shop. You can tell by the ventilation system. Here's some unpainted MD-11, unpainted MD-82. And if you look around here, that's the 2015 version of Long Beach Airport. And way over there is the Boeing factory for 2001, which I actually flew a Super 80 in here during this period. I remember seeing those over there. And that's the C-17 delivery. Isn't that cool? You can see that we're going to come in here. Look at this. I'll show you this too. It's kind of cool. FedEx MD-11 getting ready to be delivered. Look at this. He even has this, the MD-11 delivery spots. And over here, what's that guy over there doing? I don't know. Over here, you've got the MD-80 delivery in PSA colors. They are missed. But here, we don't have to push back. We're going to taxi out. He created this little taxiway alpha here. Open that up, and we can come out and taxi alpha. We're going to take off on 30. We'll go over here to the parallel. This is 12, all the way down to the end to runway 30. Hey, while we're here, let's take a look at the YC-17 for you military cargo enthusiasts. Pretty cool. Let me do one thing here. I want to get rid of the FSiPanel app because I'm not using it today. Which, you know, guys know I do a lot of it. So yeah, I forgot I never did a delivery flight of an MD-11 out of here. Look at this. Freaky D, flightsim.to, get yours today. And you too can have your own MD-11 delivery flight. Pick it up here, deliver it anywhere you want in the, probably pretty much in the world. This thing's working great. But anyway, let's go over, get in the airplane. We talked about the checklist available to you over on my Discord. I'll leave the link in the description below. And go to the TFDi Discord too. You can get a lot of questions answered by the staff, developers, but there's some real knowledgeable guys over there. So the way the test program is made for the MD-11, and we're of course released now, is you have quality assurance guys. We have the developers who do all the work. Quality assurance guys like me, unpaid interns, who fly it for them, try to see if we can find any bugs. Then unique to the MD-11 world, of course, we had the first 1,000 airplanes were released, and those guys got exclusive looks at it prior to release. We're going to do a full pre-flight, cold, dark airplane, bring this thing on over to Las Vegas and call it a day. So let's take a look around. Come in the back. These circuit breakers are going to be modeled, some of them, and it'll be a full simulation package of engine fires, pressurization, generators, hopefully by the end of the year. They're working on it. Airplane, as I mentioned, I love this airplane. It's getting better and better. 3 fire bottles. One's there, Halon. There's another one there, and the last one's over on the side of the captain's seat down there. And you check that in the green band. That's first observer's audio panel, first observer's oxygen, and that's a first aid kit. You check for any manuals you need there. You check for the escape ropes in the window. Again, I remember that's that pre-flight checklist we're doing right here. Remember this. And I'm going to be following this flow. So all this that we're talking about is all in here. So don't need to memorize anything. I did it for you. And here's the pressure breathing equipment. Put the hood on, fight the fire with a Halon fire extinguisher. Make sure that the moisture seal's not broken. These spare pins in case you get stuck out. It's the ELT, which the captain would grab on his way out in the event of a water ditching, God forbid. And of course the door. Shut it if you want. And not going to load any people on board here. But that's the quiet cabin since it is a delivery flight. All right, let's go inside. Pretty cool. So we're going to get it started. We check the logbook, make sure that we don't touch any flight controls. We've already done the outside, noted whatever's out there, looking around to make sure there's no placards or maintenance that tells us we should not be touching any of this stuff. Then we come in here on the center. We make sure the radar is off because we're about to power it up. Fluid control cutoff switches are cut off. Start switches are in, throttles right, spoiler levers, reversal levers down, spoiler handles down, flap levers up, gear handles down. Go to the overhead, and we make sure that the wipers are off because we are supposed to put power on. And we make sure that the fuel dump switch, fuel manifold covers are down. And we see the external power is on, which means it's 400 hertz, 115 volts. It's good. First we turn on the battery. And this is called the initial power up. Once we do that, turn on the nav lights, make sure everyone outside knows we're doing that. We turn on the IRSs. We check for the messages for cargo fire, as it does a cargo fire test automatically. And you take a look at the checklist. That's just the initial power up. That's how you do the initial power up. Now, if you want to start the AP, because we are about to bring people on board, well, theoretically, we would go up here to APU panel, do a fire test. Four lights there, 4 messages here, 2 master warnings, and down here, lights on the fan handle. When you get engine 3 fire, press master warning, make sure that shuts off everything. Beautiful. I don't know what that was. It was spastic there. Okay, we're going to concentrate on the rest of the overhead here in a minute. Let's go to the electronic flight bag and get a few things done here. And that's not very bright, is it? Let me go here. Wow. Why are you so dark? Okay, let's do this. Sorry guys, trying to get this figured out. My SimBrief username is in there. Hoppy code if you're going to go VATSIM or IVAO. Pause at the top of descent is available. We're not going to be doing that today. That's for a super long haul. It'll pause at the top of descent when you wake up in the morning, finish the flight. It's got a man-padded defense system. We're not going to operate that. I got a realistic IRS mode, automatic seatbelt behavior. I've got, this is what I have done. I have Imperial, and I'm going to use pounds. Top of descent systems, tape displays, and I want round dials. Single Q, the bat wings. I got the crosshairs. The American had these with the single Q. I got the tire. We can blow tires right out to for the brakes. Yeah, this is roll, control wheel steering. I would recommend not doing that. It's kind of annoying. I've got all my caution and warnings available, and performance is on here. I did not do any high efficiency flap pylon or deflected ailerons at all. All right, let's go to dispatch, import flight plan, Long Beach to Las Vegas. What's down here? I hit this, send flight plan. It's in there. Set payload. It's in there. View departure charts. You can sign in if you want on Navigraph. Pretty simple. This doesn't do you any good to copy this because it changes every flight. Plus it sends me a message on my phone that one of you guys tried to get in there. So I'm just going to use my phone to sign in. It's going to ask me if it's TFDi. You could go to the website and do it, of course. And there it is. Yes, here we go. And TFDi would like access. Sure, TFDi, come on board. Love you guys. All right, so now we're signed in here. And of course, you could fill out your taxi diagram if you wanted, things like that over here. I'm going to use my Navigraph charts, which I have ready to go here. Here's our route, guys. Long Beach, runway 30, southerly heading on departure. We'll take a look at that. On up for a arrival that has speed and altitude changes. It'll help me do my flight test for this mod, this build. So what they do is they release, the quality assurance guys do the test. We don't find anything, release it to our CE1000 guys. They look for stuff. After they have time with it, it gets sent out to the general public with all the bugs worked out for that particular one, hopefully. GPU disconnect. Yeah, we've got the APU started, so I'm going to disconnect the GPU. I'm going to remove the chocks, and because I've got the brakes coming parked. Don't believe it, they are parked. Nope, they're not. Got to depress the pedals. So you got to depress the pedals and move the handle. If you want to disable that feature and go with simple alignment, you have to go down here, parking brake behavior, go simplified, then you can just hit your switch in the cockpit. Otherwise, you'll have to depress pedals and hold it and pull it back then. And to release it, just depress the pedals. So to set it, depress the pedals, pull back the handle, or to release it, just press the pedals. But if you go simplified behavior, you can just use one switch, play with the lever. That's a relatively new feature. All right, back to the overhead. Um, oh, we never started the APU. That a boy, Jeff. Let's start the APU here, since I just killed the external while the IRSs were aligning. Very nicely played, Captain. And what I should have done also is align the IRSs. We'll go down the box, and when that comes up, and we'll get that going. Let the APU start. Let's go outside. That's new. APU exhaust. Supposed to be testing that. Oh, I'm also supposed to look for any kind of on this one, a little bit of pink around the outlet. No, I don't see it. You guys see anything? Leave it in the comments. I don't really see any issues. On this build, they're looking to see if there's any kind of the fragmentation on the livery, and I don't see anything. Looks pretty good to me. All right, that's cool. Yeah, sorry about that. I killed the external before the APU's on, guys. I'm going to put the air on before I started the APU. Did the fire test. Forgot to start the APU. That a boy. And anyway, the other thing I didn't do, of course, is the FMS align. Database is good. Today is August 19th, and it's 8th to the 4th of September. And then I guess we're still within the 10 minutes. Mercifully, we'll start that alignment. Let's do the overhead, and then we'll come back and load the box up. All right, so back to the overhead. And remember, we're going to be using this this procedure right here, this flow, 3 columns and across, and then wiggle our way down the center console and getting all these. It's a memory item. This is the one, the normal procedure is the one that printable, foldable. You'd run this together to make sure the other guy got everything on the pre-flight. So one guy did the walk around, another guy came in, did the overhead, and the other guy loads the box. So here we go. All the way up top. Handles are up in the normal position. If you want to pull a fire handle, pull them down and twist them. I'm going to do needle in the green band. Generator, no lights on here. Galley buses, sometimes they trip when you have just single source APU, or usually the external power has a phase issue. APU is usually fine. Fade acts like EEC, no lights on there. That controls power settings so you don't overboost. Ignition A or B will use for STAR. Override is both igniters. You'd use if maybe a dual engine flame out. There's actually a procedure. If you doesn't start in A, you can start it with both igniters. You just got to write it up when you get back. Here's the hydraulic panel. We're going to come back to this column now. You start the test. If you really wanted to watch it, you can go down to the system display control panel here, and you could watch the hydraulic go through its tests. You'll see things get pressurized, turned on and off. But if there's any problem, it's going to come in and tell you. You know, while I'm saying it, see these 6 identical CRTs? I'm going to come way down. They just aren't bright enough for me, and I'm going to just turn them all up. I have to go way down here because with the engines not running, these things aren't really accessible in the simulator type environment with the mouse. You end up turning fuel switches on and off. So I do those lights. I do this one here, plus the floods, flood, panel, flood, panel, and that's how I start it. All right, let's go back up top. We're going to do the electrical panel now. Oh, there we go. Arm on the emergency power, and everything else, all the rest of the lights out. We took off the external power. We all know what I did on that. This is smoke elimination. Think of Swiss Air 111, God help them. And you get smoke, and you go to 1 and 2. And the procedure takes way too long, and you wait for the smoke to dissipate. Maybe it's on generator bus 1 or 2, and that didn't work on 2 or 3. Of course, the most usual culprits are the Gasper fans, recirc fans generally, or the ovens. Cabin buses, no lights. Integrated drive generator, it's IDG, CDG on other aircrafts, and it trips for low oil pressure or high oil temperature. Once you're disconnected in flight, you can't reset it. You have to let maintenance do it. Passengers, you set your passenger count. Let's say we had 210 plus 8 flight attendants. We said 218. I'm not going to get crazy here. And what that does, if you had no passengers like today, and no flight attendants, that would bleed less off the engines and thereby save you fuel. The other way to save fuel, we fly in an econ. If you turn that off, it's about 1% more fuel burn. Fuel system, make sure it's not in manual. I gotta turn on the APU bleed. This is interesting. That is interesting. What am I doing wrong here? All right, so we've got, oh, the APU tripped. APU tripped. Start that. That's interesting. I did a flight yesterday, and when I shut off the APU after start, the APU, the engine, number 2 engine flamed out. So I think that is a write-up. So I'm going to make sure they know about that. Somehow the APU tripped. We're kind of having a fitful day with the APU, aren't we? First of all, I tripped the external power too soon. Naturally, what I could do is come over to the EFB, go services, and put on the power. That's
autopilot.
The power, not the. All right, so there we go. It's starting. Now we'll wait for the APU to start up. And there we go. Let's see what happens with that. All right, guys. So on the air system, make sure it's not manual. We talked about the flow. Here's the econ. That was my first clue. If you turn that off to drain smoke or something in the back, 1% better, more fuel flow. We used to use that when people smoked. 1,000 stories there. Mass switch lights come on at 14,000. Mass drop at 14,000 feet, and you would have an on light. But we always backed it up by pressing and holding that for 1 second in case there were any stuck up there. Fuel test. Remember the dump switch and the manifold. The dump fuel, you lift this cover and press it, and it will dump down to max landing weight unless you change it. Make sure the fuel system is in auto, not manual. And then test the quantity. You're going to get 18880 and then 10.5. And if you were to look over at the fuel, you're going to get 52.4. We have to do that over again. You can see right now the fuel is 35.3. Let me go to the overhead. Hold that again. 18888, then 10.5. And 52.4 is set there. You guys can see that. 52.4, and that's a good test. The way they fill these tanks up, they fill up all 3 evenly, and mains, and but you see this bigger tank is depicted. Then it will fill up the center. So all 3 evenly, and then finish filling up the number 2 tank. Then upper aux, lower aux, and the trim tank be last. Trim tank's used to control CG in flight, sends fuel back and forth for CG, or if the fuel temp gets within 3 degrees of freezing, it'll cycle the fuel to keep the fuel from freezing up. I'm going to go to air, talk about the systems display control panel. System display control panel. So these identical CRTs, captain's PFD, captain's nav display, EAD, engine alert display, and this is systems display, and that's the FO's nav and FO's PFD. If you take a look on the systems display control panel, anything with the light has an associated malfunction with it. So if you want to find out which one what engine was the engine, you press it. There it is. Ignition's not armed. Talking about the air a little bit here. Yeah, that's interesting with the APU guys. Something's going on with that. I'll have to check that out. Blue cyan here is what you've asked for. This is what the actual cabin temperature is. These are the duct temperatures. These are the bleed temperatures. And these are the bleed air pressure. You can see they're at 32. When we start engine, we'll take a look at that. And the landing out, you got the outflow valve is open. We'll need to know that as we go back to the overhead. So that's that. Trim air system that blends hot air in with the packed cold air to get your desired temperature. If you're getting a runaway temperature, it's getting real hot, you can turn off the trim air. Takes all cold air or hot bleed air off the packs, and the pack just regulates its own temperature. We talked about fuel packs, dome light. Thunderstorm lights puts every light in the cockpit to bright, so in case you're in blinding lightning. Emergency lights, let's go to arm. You can test it by pressing that switch. No smoking sign is on. Right, these lights are out. So you got 3 lights out, not on, and 3 lights on over here, even though a couple of them say off. That's how they're supposed to be. Reset the call lights here, all the way up top. APU panel. I wouldn't start the APU from this panel, guys. I would always start it from the electrical. It gives you an auto shutdown when you turn the bleed off here. But you can. evac switch for some reason isn't off. We'll put that to on. If it's evac is, if you hit the on switch during evacuation, lift the cover, go to on, you can silence the horn in the cockpit by pulling here. It doesn't silence the horn in the back. GPWS, terrain override, VMC only. You know the runway's right there. You're over the water. There's no mountains, and you get train, pull up. It means the GPS is IRS are probably lost. You can go terrain override. That's only for VMC if you know exactly where you are. You can do a whole GPWS test cycle. It's one of those sheets I showed you. They've got it all modeled, and it works pretty well. I think terrain pull-ups the only one that doesn't work right now. But I'm not going to do it because it takes too long. Flap override, that's if you're using other than flaps 35 or 50, like for a 2-engine out or jam slats or asymmetric flaps or something, you go to flap override so you didn't get flaps warning on final. AFS panel, this is the AFS panel, Auto Flight System panel. A lot of the magic on the MD-11 resides right here. It's a flap limit, auto, and it detects asymmetric flaps and things like that. Elevator feel is in auto. What that does, you can go to low speed mode or high speed mode over here. If you're not, auto is broken, it decreases the amount of back pressure you can put in as aircraft accelerates so that you don't over G the airplane. Your damper, that's for Dutch roll. Keep the airplane from doing that. It dampens it out. And the famous LSAS on the MD-11. It's what gave McDonnell Douglas the reputation, the MD-11, of being difficult to fly. It's a little stiff in the pitch access because when they stretched the DC-10 out, they had to put in a stability augmentation system in the longitudinal axis. So it's about 2 pounds of thrust. So sometimes it feels like you got to kind of push through that 2 pounds as you're changing the pitch on the MD-11. That's very famous. Some guys illegally would not American, but would turn that off to get more of a DC-10 feel. We never did that. Never even talked about it. Here's we saw the air outflow valve is open. That's manual. You can set the manual altitude if you wanted to land something was non-scheduled. Anti-ice, engine is off, wings off. You turn this engine on the ground, 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, visible moisture, visibility less than a mile, or taxiways, runways with sleet or snow or slush on them, or ice. Otherwise, they stay off. Today, which is warm, we'll keep them off. Wing, or tail, you only put on in the air. We're going to put on the windshield anti-ice and keep them on until shutdown. Defog, the light is out, but the defog is on. So windshield anti-ice and defog are on at this point. Annunciator bright dim switch, annunciator test.
Overspeed.
There they all are. Check them if you have any that are inoperative or partially burned out, call maintenance. Cargo door test, press that. If there's a problem, it's going to tell you later. Fuel use here, engine max pointer. We always check for exceedances before we do anything here. And no exceedances. So come back to the overhead and we can reset the max pointer in the fuel use. All right, that's that. Let's go to the glacier control panel and we'll talk about what we're going to do. But initially, your preparation prior to clearance is really for the glacier control panel. This whole thing is a GCP. This is the EIS FCP. Sounds like a song, right? EIO. EIS in the center is the flight control panel. The whole thing is the glacier control panel. Right now, you're just checking that you have indicated airspeed and heading and feet and vertical speed, not meters, flight path angle, track, or Mach. So IAS, heading, feet, and flight path angle. It's been a while since I did this delivery, but I think the initial altitude, believe it or not, is 17,000, and we're going to be taking off on runway 30. I forget what the heading is. We'll get it around 300. We'll figure that out. In this window here, you are going to be keeping the speed window 250 or clean mid maneuver, whichever is higher. So if you're on a flight from, let's say, New York to Buenos Aires, this might be up, clean mid maneuver might be 270. 270 go in the window, but 90% of the flights 250 because you don't need higher clean mid maneuver. But that's 250 or the higher of the two. We'll figure that out in a second. That's that. On the glacier, on the EIS on the captain, I like to have traffic, data, and airport. That's what I put on here. Just my personal preference. If you want to check the radar, since you're looking at that right now, just come down here, go test, and there's the radar pattern. the radar is now operative on the MD-11, which is really cool. I'm telling you, it just keeps getting better. Keeps getting better every day. I'm going to turn this radar to off. Okay, so if you remember, we did all here. This is the overhead. We came across the glacial control panel. Now we're going to come across the CRTs and right down the middle, checking it out before we get going. Guys, this will be timestamped, so if you want to jump ahead, go ahead. Knock yourself out. I wanted to show you a delivery flight, though. I just think this is so cool that Freaky D did this. I get pretty excited about this stuff. All right, so you can set this PFD up. There's the altimeters, 2993. What is our ATIS here? I'm going, let's see, Long Beach. Weather, ATIS, not available. I think I'm just going to go over to METAR, calm winds. I can go to 30, guys. Clear 21, 17, 2993. All looks good, and I'm sure the weather over at Vegas is just fine. They are landing 26 to the west. Good visibility, of course. 2995, so similar out. Weather. Let's take a look at the departure. We're filed on the, this is Long Beach, SID. We are filed on the Zoom departure. And let's make that here. You can see the Zoom departure. Let me just go here so I can do my little handy dandy. Here it is, 10-3, Zoom 3 departure. RNAV, GP, yeah, we can do all this. Let's go, yeah, whatever. And then here we go, runway 30. Climb 301 to 1500, then left turn heading 180. So 301 to 1500, right there. Left turn 180. Eventually out towards Cahill above 15, Zoom above 16, on or out for the arrival over Misson into Las Vegas. That's our plan. Our taxi plan, since we're here, and is to go from, we're parked way over here in Freaky D land. Remember this taxiway, he built that for us. Here we go. Take out the delivery ramp. We'll come across, we'll take Bravo, just like I just showed you, and wiggle our way over to Delta, all the way down to 30. We'll take off on 30, then it's a right to 180 after 1,500 feet. We can do that in nav if it's in the box, which we'll take a look at in a second. Anyway, thought I'd do that while we were here. You can set your either return engine out or your engine out is 800 feet. We're not going to bother doing that today. No unwanted messages. We talked about all these. Gear handle is down. Center gear. The only reason you'd ever override the center gear that I can think of is if you're very lightweight and you were at an outstation and you needed a tire. You say, you know what? We can go out and we can take off one of the center gear tires. Raise that thing. It'd be quite a process, and move that tire over here. That'd be the only reason I can think you would need it procedurally, is if for some reason, or maybe it was that you had a blown center gear tire and you had a lightweight, you could do it, but we never did it. This is quite the tight taxi out here, isn't it? Yeah, very interesting. I can do it though, I know it. So throttle quadrant. All right, gonna come up here. We'll do the FMC in a minute. I know you guys probably want to do that first, but remember, one guy does the outside and the overhead, the other guy usually loads the box. So I'm going to put this to TO. Anti-skid light is out. Aux pump, you can turn on the aux pump for pushback either here, which is what we normally did, or all the way up on the hydraulic panel up here. You can see the hydraulic panel test. I got to test this, guys. I'm going to take off the external. I really need to figure out what's going on, why that APU failed. If it fails again, I'll have to do this video over. Something's going on there. Or maybe I did something wrong, which is normally the case, right? All right, back to the throttle quadrants, because we have to still check the spoilers down. Manual trim, we do move that each way. Make sure that it works. And then we're going to check the number one.
Stabilizer. Flat. Flat. Brakes.
Okay. Then 2 and 3 together.
Stabilizer. flap,
Setting this to 15. My takeoff flap.
brake.
Okay, so and the flap handle's up. If you notice these slots here, you can see that the first handle movement goes to slats extend. That's a high airspeed. It's 280. You can put that down. And then the next one goes to whatever is in the dial flap. So after takeoff, we set this to 15. Initially, we'd set this to our takeoff flaps. Like I think FedEx always uses 11, but I'm going to use 15 because that way I don't have to think to reset it. But you reset it to 15 after takeoff. Third handle movement would be 28. Fourth is 35. Fifth is 50 if you're moving it. And there are your speeds right there. Kind of cool. Start selectors are in. The start sequence is 3, 1, 2. Everything for the start, the whole thing we're about to show you is going to be normal procedures. Everything I do is here. It's all here. So everything I say is all written on these two checklists, pre-flight and normals. So you guys, you got to run over here. Join the Discord, accept the terms, which means you'll play nice with others and get going. We have a great group on this. Some very, very knowledgeable guys, very experienced guys. And then some new pilots, 15, 16 years old, guys that are regional pilots, guys that are pilots from ages, guys upgrading to captain, guys who just got the CFDi and are working towards, it's a really cool place. The fuel levers are cut off. The CRTs, they're all up. And this is system display control panel. Check the status. All we got left is ignition's not armed. Here are the 8 cars. This is number 3 MCDU. I have 3 identical MCDUs. It's captain's MCDU for FMS, FO's MCDU. I'll put him on here. And then this, we use this for maintenance in the my thing, but you could use it for 8 cars here, pre-flight, initialize it if you were going VATSIM, and you can get all your departure clearance, oceanic clearance, CPDLC, all right here for your pre. We won't be using that today, as we're not going to go anywhere in there. All right, radios, setting up your radios. But we're not going to set them up today, guys, but you'd set up ground here, tower there, guard here, ATIS here, and you listen to the ATIS. We have the ATIS via Navigraph. And lastly, you come down here. This is 3 identical radios. This is the VHF number 3 down here. You can see it says VHF 3. It's dedicated to 8 cars, but you can always change it and go to a frequency. Fully working, we don't have it here, but fully working 3rd radio in case you spill coffee and short out one of the others. You can use this one. Or sometimes the FB, who sits back here, will use this to talk to ramp or company, take it out of 8 cars for a short time. By the way, the 3rd observer, the 2nd observer would sit back here, a fold down seat. That's their panel right there. We don't have that seat model. It was like the rack. You are up there way up high. And I think we got the trim that we have to check over here. 0, 0. We had a little mark here for 0. And on the outside, that's an interesting point. You guys might find this interesting. We don't have it modeled here, but American painted a line for 0 and a line for 3 up, because after landing we set our trim to 3 degrees nose up, and that was the best for moisture drainage off the horizontal stabilizer. And also, if you were doing the walk around and you saw it at anything but 3 up, the guy either forgot to set it, which was usually the case, or he had a miscalibrated stabilizer. But it had a 0 and a 3. That was it. What is that? Look at that. So cool. Good job, guys. Very nice. Yeah, the APU exhaust noise is new. Pretty excited about the progress of this airplane. It flies better profiles than the real airplane. All right, so the interior is all done. Let's go to the box, and we get our clearance. Call ATC, get our clearance. We're going to go to, remember, you just go to FMC. You go to aircraft status. You can get there by that way, or go right here, aircraft status. MD-11, CF6S80s. I have 11,000 hours on that engine alone. We had them on our 777s, not 777s, our MD-11s, and which had 2,000 hours in. A300-600, which had 5,000 hours in, and the 76300, which had about 3,000 or 4,000 hours in. Then I have 75 hours too. Here's the database. It's all good. You could, if you had a secondary loaded, you could bring it up. Usually they load the secondary about a week before, you leave just in case you get stuck out. Flight pen and knit, we talked about that. Don't put anything in the alternate. I'll show you why. Flight, we're going to be, we'll say we're TFDi. We'll say this little TFDi paint job's being delivered to American Airlines. They can paint it in Dallas. Cruise altitude, we're going at 25, I believe. Oddballs fly east. Temperature, just standard. I'm going to say minus 38. And the wind, I don't know what the wind is. Wind component is 15. Look at that, plus 15 on the temperature deep. Plus 31, so it's a 31 knot tailwind. So this wind component, this temperature, is more like minus 23. It's pretty warm out there. And I would just say plus 37 on the winds. That's a tailwind, 37 knots. Don't put anything in the alternate, as I mentioned, because we're going to set the actual fuel. And then we come into here, and we go, it's plus 31. Distance, by the way, is 242. Cost index is 86. Remember 242. We're going to need that. In here, taxi fuel, we just get that off the PDF. It's right up here. And taxi fuel is 2,000. And then alternate fuel is 9.4. 2,000 and 9.4. So 2,000 and alternate fuel 9.4. If you put an actual alternate in, it'll compute a fuel for you and direct. And that's really not how you go there, because a lot of times you have an alternate routing. Here's the alternate routing. And it can be kind of circuitous. So the company will put in an actual routing you can expect should you divert. And sometimes it takes you a long time to get there. Like even going from Kennedy to Newark, on a short, they send you out way west towards Pittsburgh. So you want to put in the fuel that historically the company knows you will use. Let's see, planned fuel, 0 fuel weight. Let's see here. Guys, don't forget to subscribe and like and comment, positive or negative, and join the Discord too. 358.3, 358.3, 0 fuel weight. Click on the takeoff weight and the 0 fuel weight CG. Like that, go to the flight plan, Long Beach. We're going to go SID, runway 30, put the runway in first, 30, then you'll get the proper SIDs, zoom 3, and once the transition is Meissen, as I pointed out to you earlier, insert it, and what it is 1,500 feet left to a 180 heading. Then we're going to go out towards Cahill, if you remember, and the SID ends at Meissen, which is also where the arrival begins, the STAR, and we're supposed to be going to 26 left, ILS 26 left, let's just say Zulu, and over Prino, that's the farthest out, and the arrival that we're scheduled to be on is the Rondres 2. Kind of a complicated arrival, the Meissen transition, and I just know from looking at it, Meissen should be at 24,000 feet, flight level 240, and we're at 25, so that's going to be our clearance there on Meissen. It's 24, and if you take a look here, what is our descent speed plan to be? 250 below 10, 247 below 10. That's all good. Performance, econ climb, looks good, 0.756. I just checked the cruise mark, that's fine at that low altitude. And that's just, sometimes you see something weird like 220 or something, and you want to do it. All right, not going to put the winds in. Lastly, takeoff data. You come in here, we can go to the EFB performance, and we're going to put in KLGB, runway 30, runway 30. Guys, while I have you here, so suppose you wanted to see if you can do an intersection takeoff that was 2,000 feet farther down the runway. Just change the runway length right here. We'll put that in there just in case. And you can upload the weather. There it is. Make sure it makes sense. That actually does make sense. Get the takeoff weight right there. That's good. Thrust setting flex fine. Flaps, we're going to go specific. I'm just going to put in 15. Keep it simple. MD-11, they assume packs off. They assume PAC's off, so you got to put PAC's on if you want it. You calculate it. So if you put PAC's off, as you bring the throttles up, PAC's trip off, and as you level off or clean up, PAC's come back on automatically. Kind of cool. There you go. 36, 36, 57, 59. 59. PAC's on. Flaps 15. And if you, I'm just going to put 0 on the slope. And 21 Celsius. So I put 21C. And it says a European type climb here. I'm going to put in 1560. And then we're going to talk about how this thing works. 1560. 36, 36, 57, just as the electronic flight bag calculator came up with. There we go. This guy's on legs, and this guy is on takeoff data, and I just checked to make sure that they're magenta, which means they're active. So the way that it's going to work, we're going to take off in nav arm, we're going to take off in profile arm, and we're going to arm the auto flight prior to takeoff. The toga on this aircraft, of course, there's your toga switch, or here's a toga switch, but the way you do it for takeoff, this little screw, by the way, is a toga for go-arounds. Think of these as go-around switches. Toga, you arm the auto flight, this box will disappear, and then when you go above 70, toga engages for takeoff. A lot of confusion on that. That's how that works. So I know what I meant to set is the actual runway heading, which is 301. Oh, and I didn't check the departure altitude. It's been a while since I flew this one. Zoom is, it was 17,000. There you go. Right there. I usually will circle that. And that's our departure. All right. I think we got it down. Let's go to Las Vegas, shall we? So I would go and I would take the sim brief. Here we go. We got everything's in here. Zoom 3, Meissen, Rondres, Las Vegas, 26 lap. We go through the box together under, we already talked about the database. Go to the flight plan. We'd walk through. We check the nav routing and then the legs. We can go to plan to step through. We make sure there's no discontinuities over here. So you can go to plan, and with that, you can step through, which won't happen in map. Look for any discontinuities. One guy reads the flight plan, and the other guy, one guy leads the box and checks here, and the other guy will read the flight, will follow along in the flight plan. Go back to map. Okay, we're good. We're good. Everything's great. Let's run the checklist. Then we've already called for clearance. We've got our clearance. We'll say that we got our squawk. Kind of a funky thing on the squawk, guys. You set the squawk. Let's see, it's 3245. It's the first flight I have done that is an FSiPanel, which has ATC. So this is fun. It's a delivery flight. There's no FSiPanel profile here. I could do VATSIM, terrible for instruction, great for content. Turn on the transponder. So if ATC is not picking up your transponder, you probably forgot that switch. So it's kind of a 3-step process. Enter the code, turn on the transponder, and go to TAR. Right. That's set. Go to the checklist. And we did the pre-flight. That's complete. Go to normal and just go through this together. FMS MCDU, we just did it. IRS is checked in a line. Hydraulic panels checked. Fuel panels checked. Emergency light switch armed. No smoking switches on. Well, you know what? Let's get the seatbelt sign on just for that delivery crew. So they're ready to go there. Back there. Fire warnings are tested. EVAC switch is armed rather. EVAC switch is up top there. AFS control panel, we talked about that. That was the one with the LSAS and all that. Cabin pressure checked in auto. Windshield anti-ice defog and defog light is out. Glacier control panel set and checked. System display control panel. Talked about that ad nauseum. The lights are out. Status page checks. EAS and bugs set. The bugs are set. Standby flight instruments are checked. Gear handling lights down in green. Auto brake selector is on TO. Brakes and pressures parked in normal. Slat flaps up retracted. Breakout bar. This is overboost breakout bar. I didn't talk to you about that. It's right there. If you were lost 2 engines, you would slam it past there and get everything that engine had to offer at the risk of overboosting it and burning it out. But you're going to crash if you don't do it. and you'd start dumping fuel just by pushing that switch right there. So that'd be if you were really desperate, it wasn't flying. That's what you would use that for. Over boost brake down power, and then throttles are closed, reverse levers are down. Takeoff 1, we tested. Fuel switches are off. VHF radios, we talked about setting them. Weather radar is off and tested. Transponder is set and TARA, we talked about that. And then seatbelt sign is on. Status page we checked. Remember, we just had ignition. And then cleared to push would be the pump, beacon, and ignition is clear to start. So we click request taxi, and we'll say it's ready to go. Let's do this. And really, we don't need to even use GSX, guys, right? We don't even need them. So let's just say we're clear to start right here. So let's go to the overhead, because we're taxiing straight out. That's a new one, huh? Here, and we come down and turn on the aux pump here, and we're going to start. We're not using GSX today. Very cool indeed. And here we go. We're going to start 3, 1, then 2. A lot of times in the real airplane, we taxi it on 1, and 3. What I want to show you here, remember that was at 32. These other two are 32. You need at least 25 to turn it. Then you need at least 15 over here, and you also need to oil pressurize. And there it is. We would let it go to max motoring just so that it made for a cooler start. So you got oil pressure, you had 25 psi, and you had over 15. Max motoring, bring it up. Oh, I know I told you guys. Remember, you can jump ahead. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. 20%, 400, 60%, 8 the oil. See the gulp? Went from 22 down to 17. TFDi is, I bugged them on some of this stuff, and man, they got everything right. And then 1,200 on the fuel flow. If you were at 8,000 feet like Bogota, this would be up around 1,800. But at this field, at lower elevations here, we're at, what? Like, we're pretty low. What is our field elevation here? Elevation is 60 feet. You're going to get around 1,200. All right, so 2, 4, 6, 8 the oil, 12. Looks good. Starting number 1. Now here, you turn on the engine ice if you were 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit with visible moisture. The taxiways had snow or ice or slush on them. All right, so we go back to air. Make sure we have at least 25. Your option there, if you didn't, would be to do a cross-speed slot start at this point. And what we do is go back to engine because we want to make sure we have that oil pressure rise. This is the first time I've done a flight in a long time without ATC. This is interesting. And pushback. I like these delivery. I can't believe I never did a delivery flight with you guys. I did it all for, this was my kind of go-to one over when we developed it. All right, there's max motoring. Oil pressure's good. Bring up the fuel lever. Now, we're going to start all 3. You're going to see all 3 started. I had a problem last flight on my quality assurance flight that the number 2 engine flamed out when the APU bleed was shut off even after start. This 45%, start valve is closed. And you know what? The real MD-11 and L1011s had that problems with that number 2 engine flaming out when you move the bleed. I had it happen. I have a fire story with a ground evac as a result. All right, 2, around 4, around 6. Oil gulp is there, so the only one with the high oil is 22. That'll come back after shutdown. But you kind of note that because you have min quantities for start, and you check your burn en route. There's 1,200, looks good. Otherwise, you might have the fuel levers out of throttles out of idle, or you might be stuck in approach idle if this was high. Anyway, start number 2, moment of truth. Remember, are we looking for 25 on the bleed pressure? It's 27, that's good. You can see the packs came on automatically. That's a landing elevation for Las Vegas, 2181. Back to engine because we have to check the oil pressure rise on these CF6-80s. It's oil pressure rise. We're above 15. I look for max motoring, my technique. Bring the fuel lever up. We didn't take a look at this. That means the ignition is on, what, at 45% if it's working. And the captain would call 45, start valve's closed. The FO calls 45, captain says start valve's closed. So there's 37, 38. And this little, what's this, 45, start valves closed. All right, and I would say 3 normal starts. And here we go. So there's the oil gulp, 2, 4, 6, 8. See the oil, so all 22, they're all down around 15. All around 20, all around 400, all around 6, all around 12, and the oil's been eaten. That's how you start this thing. And you turn on the engine IC for your 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit with visible moisture, taxiways, all that stuff. Okay, so that's all good. So let's go to the after start checklist. Make sure we got all that before we take an after start. Engine ice, no APU. So let's go to the overhead. You guys see that engine is running. I'm going to shut off the APU bleed. APU bleed is off. It shut down yesterday, that number 2 engine shut down. I probably did something wrong. So the APU is in a cool down. We don't have to do anything yet. It's going to go into a cool down mode and shut itself down. Okay, let's go for tack. We'll just get the flaps now. Check the flight controls while we're here. Config. First thing I do is set the stab trim, 4.6. When I see that config page come up, I think of a bunch of things. Before I check the flight controls, I'm going to check the stab trim, which you take off the takeoff page. I'm going to check the flap position, and the tire pressure is 180, 176, 210. Those are actually the mins. They'd be all uneven, actually. These are the brake temps. Make sure we're not anything but where we should be. And at that point, the captain holds onto the rudders and those wheel steering and checks the rudders full green. FO does the tops real slowly, full green. He checked in the ailerons and spoilers, centers it, and then checks the elevators. If you push it really banging around, people can hear it back there. Looks good, and the APU should have shut down by now, and it did, and my engines kept running. And before we taxi, we have to go to the status page on the system display control panel. There it is. All the lights are out. Go back to engine. Do the checklist. After start. Go back to config page, flight control, stab trim. Looks good. Get permission to taxi. To release the brakes, I can push on the rudder pedals. That's all I have to do. The brake pedals. Clear left. Clear right. Isn't this cool? You guys need to do this. Now this is kind of a tight turn here. Let's do it from here. Woohoo! Did it. Nice. Little tricks with the nose wheel steering. If you wiggle it, you center it back up and turn again, you'll get a little bit more move. Obviously you can do a little inside brake. That helps too, but it's heats up the brake. But I just kind of center the nose wheel steering like that. If it stops turning, just center it and then do it again, and it comes around. Of course, you can always do differential thrust, bring it up the outside engine, or do a little inside brake, and that's it. Now, be careful if you arm pre-flight. If you arm your auto flight at the gate for takeoff, and you do a tight turn, you may go over 70%. Now you got a toga issue on the ramp. Not good. All right, so on the spoilers. If you look down here, you see green box. It's checking your stab trim, your spoilers. Everything is in order. For takeoff and landing, you want that green box. And we got permission to taxi. Yeah, I cannot believe I never did this delivery flight with you guys. Because it's a great flight because of the nav departure, the STAR with all the airspeed changes and altitude changes, high altitude approach into Las Vegas. It's a great one. Plus the Freaky D scenery pack, I just love it. Make sure you pick that up over on Flight Sim TO, Long Beach. So this is the birthplace of the MD-11. Remember, you got the 1994 vintage McDonnell Douglas factory. You've got the 2015 terminal and the 2001 Boeing C-17 factory. That's what they all are. I know all that just because Mike DeCero's a friend of mine. Well, I think he's a friend. He probably can't stand me. A Boeing engineer. Yeah, they're pilots. Yeah, you know, they're okay. We're okay. Mike and I are friends. Mike likes to fly vintage airplanes. I think he just likes to fly them with me, so he can see how bad I am. Hey, Mike, are you going to fly the? You guys been flying the Flight Sim Studio 7.2? I'm just getting myself checked out on that. Holy mackerel. That's a lot of airplane. I would think that you would, Mike, because you like that vintage stuff, and it's not a DC-3, but you're humping. All right, clear left and right. A little late, right? But we did it. I'm going to take a left on Delta and get going. All right, so we don't have a checklist here. I have a checklist on my thing, but I check the closeout. So right now we don't have a closeout that comes in like on the Leonardo MD-80 or something, but you'd update your zero fuel weight on the init page 2. You'd update your stab trim, weights, winds. So if you are doing a standard power takeoff flex temp like this, you have a 3,000 pound buffer with that 59 flex temp. So as long as you're within 3,000 pounds, you're good to go. 3,000 or less. Naturally below is fine. But if you're doing max power, if you're above your max power, your weight, planned takeoff weight at max power, you've got to get new numbers. Same thing with temperature. If you're doing max power, like right now it's 19 and your TPS is for 18, you would have to get a new one. But as long as assumed temp, our assumed temp is 59. So you got all sorts of room. So weights, winds, temperatures. Winds, for every knot of tailwind, you look at your takeoff power sheet, you maybe subtract 1,500 pounds. If you have 10 knots of tailwind, 15,000 off your runway limited, not your climb, but your runway limited. Weights, winds, and temperatures are checked. And then you look at your glare shield control panel. That's not your flight control panel, glare shield control panel. Got 250 here, we got nav, we got profile arm, flight 17,000, 18,000 transition, and you've got your EIS set. So when you say glare shield control panel, you're checking that. You're also checking your EIS to make sure you have what you want over here. Just one last chance to do it. And we also check that you have the proper runway in there on your display. And this is all, guys, again, that's all on that checklist I have for before takeoff checklist. Clear left and right, clear to cross, contact tower. And if we were on a passenger flight, we'd say flight attendants prepare for takeoff, but it's just the two of us. I don't know, maybe we have a couple of dignitaries on board, but typically they just send 2 pilots to pick up the new deliveries. Once in a while maintenance will come, or another pilot will go around for a joyride, but I never got to pick one up as the captain. I went over as an FO once on an Airbus in Toulouse, and I was the 3rd pilot going over there. All right, weights, winds, and temperatures check, and here's that checklist again. There we go. Before takeoff, glare shield control panel, anti-ice stab trim, spoilers and brakes, flaps and slats, configuration, zero fuel weights updated, and takeoff and chime, flight modes, annunciators. So we talked about all that stuff. Now, would you feel safe going pre-flight? American wanted you to go to auto flight as when you're on the runway. Auto flight, then you bring the throttle. And the reason is, we've had aircraft accidentally go over 70% on an outboard engine and activate toga and end up flying off the end of the runway. An Airbus in specific in St. Thomas. So they went to this policy where we armed our auto throttles when we were actually on the runway. All right, TFDi 123. How about American 123? TFDi colors. Line up and wait. Line up and wait, blah, blah, blah. All right, so if we had anybody on board, we'd come in and we'd cycle a no smoking sign. There's takeoff's imminent. We did the prepare for takeoff. Final's clear. We just double check the runway 30, clear left, clear right. Captain will kind of look all the way around. Gonna square the turn off so we don't put the main gear off the runway. Off the taxiway. Yeah, bring it on. Your nose gear, I've said it a million times with you guys, is right there under the speed tape. Same thing on the Boeing 777, 73. Airbus, I think it's over here. And I know on that 72, it's over here. But on the MD-11 and the this generation Boeing, they're here. Like I said, I think on the A320, I noticed it was like over here. And once it's cleared onto the runway, typically we'll put the turn-off lights on like this, and the wing lights if we had any. But when we clear it for takeoff, we chime them and we turn on all this and our strobes. All right, we're clear for takeoff. Let's do it. So now we go auto flight arm. Watch this box right here. That's arm. I guess we have a toga here, but we're going to bring it up to 70%. And when it gets up to 70, it's going to engage in toga. There's 58, 60, 70, and there it goes up to 100.0. When it gets to 100.0, the other guy says, thrust is set, little forward pressure on the stick, the yoke rather. 80, takeoff clamp. So we got nav on, profile arm. D1 or rotate. Nice and easy. Let it lift off at around 10 degrees. And once it gets airborne, you can start bringing it gently, 15 to 20 for lightweights. Positive rate gear up. And it's a nice flying airplane now. Really is. So it's doing a V2 right there until 1,500 feet, and then it's gonna go climb power, and you'll push the nose over. There's 1,500 feet. There's your climb power right there, and here comes your turn right here.
Stabilizer motion.
Should be turning right there. Flaps up. And there goes the turn. Trim nose down. Slats retract. Aft takeoff climb checklist. In which case the other guy disarms the spoilers and turns and makes sure the auto brakes are out of TO. And he also checks the status page for any messages. So clean machine. All right, let's turn on the, man, this thing flies nice. Wasn't always like that as it was being developed. It sure does fly nice now. So let's go down here, turn to TO, spoilers are down, aft takeoff climb checks complete. I can prove it. Aft takeoff, spoilers, gear, flap, auto brake selectors, EAD. With EAD, all you're looking for is any unwanted messages here or there. That's it. We're doing a 180 heading. Vegas is actually behind us. This is to get us out of the way of LA's airspace. LA is right there, 8 miles away. So it's a big turn. Gets us, they have you climb up well above their airspace before they let you turn. That's why it's 17,000 feet, because they really need to get you up there out of Long Beach. Long Beach. The Queen Mary is down there. The static display. I think it's a hotel. At least it was. All right, it looks like it's pushing over. Out of 10. There we go. We can come up to the overhead, and we can de-sterilize them. Turn our lights off. All that's on the checklist, guys. Everything we're doing's right there for you. All right, now let's do a left-hand turn. Before I turn, I go like heading select. We'll do a left-hand turn, and we'll say he turns us around. Turn left. That. The reason I do the heading select first is they're going to tell us to turn left direct to a point. I want to make sure that it goes left and not right. So most MD-11 guys will do the initial heading like this. So let's say they say, Roger, you're cleared direct. Remember, it's above 15 Cahill. Direct Cahill. Looks good, but we're still in heading. That definitely means it's going to be left turn. We go to nav. But see how this is a turn point? That's a big delta. So a lot of MD-11 guys will do the turn at heading select. And then when you get closer, because ATC does not want you correcting back to this line that was just formed over to here, right? They expect you to roll out direct. So what most MD-11 guys will do is they'll do this. They'll do Cahill. They'll go like this. They'll do the turn, make sure this is an auto. There we go. They'll get it going to Cahill. And then they'll do direct. Or just kind of clean it up when it gets going. Just technique, guys. All right, there's 18. That's 16. And we're going up to 17. We'll say we're cleared up to our final cruise altitude of flight level 250. They'll say, Roger, amend altitude, maintain 240. 240 for American 123. There's 24, and that'll be your final today. Okay, if that's be a final, I'll come in here and I'll put in 240 as my final, so the box knows. And that's also our crossing altitude at Bison. I'm going to put in 240. All right, here we go. I want to see something, guys. Hang on 1 minute. Yeah, for whatever reason, that's hard to read for me. There's Cahill. You can see that. Like I said, you can go direct. Just going to clean it up because they don't expect you. They don't expect you to correct back to that course there. They expect you to go direct. Now we're in close here. Now you can go direct Cahill and go nav. This first thing you hear is, hey American, where are you going? 2992 is set, lights are out, and takeoff climb checklist is complete. See, even then it does a little delta for there, so I come in and I go direct, Cahill, straighten it out. They do expect you to go direct, and there you have it. 21 for 24. All right, and that's the SID. All timestamp for you. Delivery flight. In TFDi colors, going to American Airlines through Las Vegas, I guess. I don't know. That's something like that. That's kind of how it goes. All right, so let's go and start getting ready for the arrival. We'll talk a little about it here. This is kind of complex. And you definitely want, it's the Rondres. Rondres. I'm going to bring this over here, guys. Right over here. Make sure you can all see it. First point is missing a 24, whatever above 19. We'll get the other one in a minute. Whatever above 19. Rondres at 250 between 19 and 13.
Altitude.
Rondres 280 at 13. But Rondres should be 250 at 13. So I go here, and the speed instead of being 280 should be 250. Right there. Now we go back to the flight plan. So now we can go missing. I'm going to put at 24, which We already are there. Water above 19. Then Rondres, it says 280 and 13. It's 250 at Rondres, right? I don't know where the 280 is coming from. Then Rumley, no, Grandma, Beauty, above 12.5, Envy, above 11, and then a downwind. Bourbon at 210 and 8. Bourbon at 210 and 8. Redon at 9. Bourbon at 210 and 8. So let's go 210 and 8. Let's go Redon. We're going to go I'm bothered by this guy, so Grandma at 250. I want Redon at 250. Rondres at 250. I'm going to put 250 in here. There it is, Rondres, finally. So we're set up, guys. We're level at 24. There is a cruise checklist, but it's pretty much brief the approaches. Look for the top of descent out here. Make sure it's there. There it is. We're already at 24, so it's not worried about that. So we've got our top of descent, it's showing up. That lets me know the airplane does know where it is. We check the arrival, and that's going to be our downwind leg. Let's come back over here. Let's take a look at our arrival. I would give the FO the airplane approach. We're going to go ILS 26 left. Zulu will say. We'll pin it. ILS 26 left. This will tune automatically within 25 miles. So 11-2, effective 5 October, ILS Zulu, runway 26 left, 111.5, 259. Yeah, if you go to the box, it's not going to be in there yet. You can definitely, I let it auto-tune, but you can definitely right now put in either 111.5, 260, whatever it is, or the identifier, which is IRLE. So you could put in 111.5, 259 or IRLE/259, but I'll let it auto-tune. So it's going to be, we said 210 at Bourbon on the downwind, then Preno at 8. I don't think that's in there. Let's put that in there. I put the Preno transition. There's 210 there, right? Vectors. And Preno, we want to put in 8,000. $8,000 and 210. All right, there we go. Alrighty, and Larry at so we got Larry Shaylin Relin at 3,800. So Rally Shaylin Relin. Preno, Larry, Shan, Relin at 38, and 26 left. And the mist is in there. You just have 3,000 up to eventually going up to, so let's say 3,600 to BLD. Left of the BLDs and hold 6,000. So climb right turn to 6,000. Climb to 3,200, then a right turn. So 32. The field elevation here is 2180. So that's really only 1,000. So climb up to 3,200, about 1,000 above the ground. Then a right turn to 6,000 heading 080, and then inbound the BLD to hold. Hopefully we don't do that. Let's go taxi and airport. Where shall we park? I don't know. We're on 26 left. Right here. So we've got a hot spot. We'll probably get off at Alpha 6 this lightweight. Hold short, right? And then we'll bring it on in here and find a gate. Delivery area. We'll say it's going to come, and we're going to pick up all these execs for American Airlines that are going to take this airplane down to Dallas. We'll find a parking spot somewhere over here. I'm sure that it'll say that parking is too small for your aircraft, but we're not going to worry about any of that. Might not even use GSX. All right, guys, that's it. Everything's briefed. Back in here. Back in here. And good. Let's say we're cleared for the whole arrival. We can put in 8,000 on the bottom. So you clear for the Rondres.
Altitude. Altitude.
Easy for me to do, huh? You don't push, you don't pull, you don't do nothing. Just leave 8 in there. That's what you asked for, and that's what you get. So I always check it. Say that's what you asked for, but this is what you have, 8,000. So what we can expect is to cross Bison at 24, and then it's going to make those altitude restrictions en route going down to 8. And those altitude restrictions, if you remember, a WADEV above 19, so it might not descend for a while, and then Rondres at 250 between 13 and 19. It'll probably hang out around 19, but it's going to cross Rondres at 250. Beauty above 12.5, Envy above 11, Ronde above 9, and then slowing to be at 210 and 8 by Bourbon, and that is your downwind leg. Be out over the reservoir, the lake out in Las Vegas, and we'll start a left-hand turn and come on in for the ILS 26 left. Right-hand turn off, hold short of the inboard, go find a nice gate to park at. Make the PA if anyone was on board, but no one really was. Look in the habit pattern. Here, lights are all out. There is a cruise check you can do. It's rather unremarkable. Cruise. Check FMA as desired. All pink is controlling. FMS is controlling speed, pitch, and roll. White, FCP, flight control panels being followed. Green, that's auto land annunciations for low glide, slope, and dual land. And brief the STAR approach and taxi. And FMS profile speeds for cruise and descent. Check. So that's something we didn't do. There it is. Descents here, but it's not going to really matter, is it? There's so much going on with airspeed changes. I love this during the development phase because it really helped me test the profile mode because it had airspeed, altitude changes all over the place. All right, so we're pretty much ready. There's Meissen coming into view. Yeah, so let me tell you the story. I mentioned the APU flame out and how that affected us. One time we were taxiing out on all 3 engines going to Santo Domingo on the inauguration flight. It was 1995 American Flight 790. Look it up. American Flight 790, 1995, JFK to Santo Domingo. And we had a ground evacuation. Flight 790, 1995, JFK to San Domingo ground evacuation. You'll see a New York Times article in there on that. But I'll tell you what really happened. We taxied out at Kennedy, made a left on Bravo, and coming out of the gate, taxiing out. And our number 2 engine, somewhere in there, when we brought it back to idle, flamed out. We didn't know it, but a Gulf Air airplane was being taxied by maintenance guys behind us, and they saw flames coming out of the engine. We had no indication it was a tailpipe fire. We hadn't even noticed at this point that it had flamed out. When he said it, we looked and we saw the number 2 engine was off, and Gulf Air said, yeah, it's going right up your tail. And we said, all right, so we blew the fire bottle. We didn't have any indications, shut it off, secured the engine, stopped the aircraft, told Tower what we were doing. He said, how's it look now, Gulf Air? And he said, oh, we can't see. We've turned into the gate. Yeah, man, okay. So we asked for the ARF equipment, fire and rescue. They get out, but they were on the wrong frequency. They weren't on ground freak. They were on tower freak, and they were telling us, yeah, you still got fire there. Tower said, yeah, maintenance says you still have fire. So we started a ground evacuation. Fired the second bottle. Somewhere in there, the captain had called back and said, hey, Bobby, we have an engine fire. We're not planning a ground evacuation right now. But that was back, Bobby opened the door. Back then, this was 1995. Well, Bobby went back. All he heard was ground evacuation. Went back and started a ground evacuation. Right about then, Tower said, yeah, maintenance says that, fire and rescue says, you still got a fire back there. So we started a ground evacuation. Somewhere in there, the fire went out. The beep, 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 beep was going. Captain looked over at me. He was smoking a cigarette. And he said, why did you start the evacuation? I said, I didn't. So we knew it had to come from the flight attendants. Right about then, they said, yeah, you do have a fire. So we said, all right, let's just keep it going. We shut down the engines. We ran the evacuation checklist. Flight attendants told us that when the slides went out, the slides over the wings go out and then outboard of the wing. They saw the slide flying all over because the engine was still running on the left side, on both sides. But nobody, fortunately, went out. We started the ground evacuation. They tried to stop us. They said the fire is out, but it was too late. It had already been started. We didn't hear them, and they were on the wrong frequency. I did my job. I ran the checklist, and I went out the first door. The captain went to the back of the aircraft, came down the slide with a cigarette in his mouth. People were getting hurt. We only had 100 on the inaugurated flight on a 270-seat airplane. People were getting hurt. On the slides were made to evacuate 400-something people. They were these little cow catcher on the bottom that kicked people out, and you had people that broke legs, got all cut up. And it turns out the evacuation was certified to be high volume, kicking people up off the bottom of the ramp. And it was a little bit of a you-know-what show. But I got out there. The flight attendant had all spurs in her feet. She took taking her shoes off. I went down with my shoes on. I gave her my shoes, and I turned around in time to see Uncle Walter, the captain, coming down with a cigarette butt in his mouth. And by now, the fire department was at the bottom of the chutes because they knew people. But Walter was the last one off. He went to catch him. Walter hit the bottom. They got out of the way. Walter was a big guy, and he skidded across on his rear end, tore his pants, walked up to us, still had a cigarette going, and said, well, that was a shit show. And we walked in. FAA said, no problem, even though they tried to stop the evacuation. Based on what we knew, we had to evacuate. As far as we knew, it was a fire. I'm supposed to be checking on this one. See the stab trim? It's a little nose down. So I have to take a picture of that. That's the wrong one. Let me do that again. Because that's a little bit forward on the trim there. It should be a little bit further out. Let's take a look at the fuel. We're about to start down at this arrow right here, guys. Anyway, that's that story. Want to turn on the weather radar? Turn here, you get terrain, 40. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to come down here, turn on the weather radar. Weather. I'll go weather and turbulence. I'm going to put the tilt down a little bit. There's no weather, obviously. I'm just playing with it. 6 down is ridiculous, I know. I'm just playing with it. I think it uses the weather. It doesn't use real weather. It just uses whatever's on the weather forecast. Anyway, here it is. We crossed Bison at 24, and right here we're supposed to be at Wadham above 19. It says fine, we're above 19. It's going to start down here. Now, a funny thing here is, I know it's going to take a look at the fuel, but you won't get a warning. In the real aircraft, I think it starts flashing. Here, you just got to trust it. We're in profile. We've got an altitude below our current altitude. Everything's in pink. Here it comes. I'll get this up where you can really see it. typically at cruise, we don't fly with the radar. We usually go 1 down, maybe 2 down. On descent, maybe 1 up. Here we go. Right about in now, you start getting a flashing to let you know the descent was about starting. But it's going to wait. You just have to be faithful. Have some faith here. Like I said, this profile works really well in TFDi. Not so much in the real MD-11, back when I was flying it. Okay, there it is. You see a little circle hits. You're going to see the throttles come back. There they go. And there's your vertical track indicator coming down. And it's the altitude it's going to is 13, with the next one 12.5. Because the Rondre is at 250, it wants drag. So I'll bring out the speed brake slowly. Speed brake's deployed. That's because it's trying to get to 250 by Rondres. Right there. You see 250 in the window. And Rondres is only, and remember that's between 19, Rondres is between 19 and 13, so it may even level off at 19, but it wants us to help it get to 250. It's adding the drag. And so we have about 15 miles to Rondres. We have 2,000 feet to be in that block. It still wants to drag. If I see those throttles going back up, like right now, I can bring the speed brake up a little. I'm kind of metering it. I've still got a little speed brake. See the throttles. Want to make sure we're in between the 19 and 13. Looks like we got it made. We have 10 miles to go, 1,000 feet to be in the block. And it's the more that drag went away, so I'm going to bring the speed brake back up. And it should be happy. And I bet it levels off yet 19, just because it's got to be just be in that block. It's not going to be in a big hurry to get down. All right, good. All right, so checklist. These cruise, descent, FMS, MCDU, landing data from land. Oh, let's try to do that. Let's try to do that. Electronic flight bag. Aircraft, airport. LAS. Runway. Takeoff setting. Landing. Runway 26. Bob's flying the airplane, Bobby Boy over there. 26 left dry, get the information, airport information, there it is. Get your airport landing weight. I would just say 390, 385. Reverses, brakes, flaps 35 is fine. Calculate, stopping distance available, landing distance available. Here's the estimated landing distance, 64.77. So that's all done. And there it is at 250 at Rondres, and it's happy here, up at 19. Its next crossing is 12.5, and then after that 11. And we're clear for the whole arrival, so we have the bottom altitude set in. 12.5 and above 11. Somewhere in here, if there's anyone on board, we make a PA. And I get the lights on at 18. Sometimes I just put them on if I was thinking about it, to be honest with you. And I know you want me to be honest with you. Here's my video for the day. If I do anything today, if I can free up some time, I'm going to try to fly another flight on the flight sim. The truth is, I made 2 videos. They both froze up. Maybe it's God's work, because I kind of had a little trouble with that airplane. That's a lot of airplane, especially with the autopilot part of it. And so I ended up hand flying the whole thing, and got it on the ground. Did some decent landings, but I I don't know. That's a great add-on, but it's not for kids. I'll tell you. You gotta be, you're working. You can see it's hanging up at 19. So even though they slow you down early going into Vegas, they let you hang up high for fuel consumption. So fairly fuel efficient arrival because they're all outer above. Let's take a look at our box. Fix. In case we're cleared visual. Put in KLAS. That's a distance direct to the field. You see it's 30, but if you go to Prague, that's the distance on the flight plan. So 76 miles on the flight plan. As the crow flies, 30. That comes in handy if they all of a sudden cleared you for visual. So I like to get that set up. And we might as well set up our landing weight. We'll go flaps 35. And that's it. 148. Figure 150. Claim in maneuvers 138. Remember the flap speeds are over here. But I wrote them down. So 280 for slats extend. 1 to 15 is 255. 16 to 20 is 240. They're pretty high. If you're at flaps 35 is 190 when we get down there. All right, there's starting the descent. When we come out of 18, we'll set the local altimeter where the 8 is. ATIS is 170 at 6, runway 26 left, so it's a direct cross, 5 knots, 2995. When we get out of 18, there we go. 2995 set 1, 2, 3 times. And it's doing the VTI is applying a beautiful approach here. Yeah, the MD-11 is not an intuitively easy plane to fly, especially if you've been flying the Airbus. Of course, there's some similarities to the Airbus, especially the box versus Boeing's. The box is very similar to the Airbus or the Builds A300, S600, 310. But this push-pull stuff, you know, the flight control panel, if you push, you get what's in the window, or hold. So you push on the altitude, which is that little arrow up, you get your altitude hold. You push here, you get heading hold. Push here, you get airspeed hold. You pull here, you get speed select. You pull on here, you get flight level change. And you pull on here, you get heading select. So a little bit different than other aircrafts on the push-pull. Also, you got to use your mouse wheel to spin things here. I didn't mean to do that. All right, it's getting ready to make the turn here and start our big downwind leg. It says it wants us to add drag, so we'll pull the spoilers all the way out. There. Make sure your throttles are at idle too, at your home sim. Although these were at idle. Some of these builds, add-ons, it gets confused, and you look up and you're oh, there, now it's telling, it's bringing the throttles up so we can bring our spoilers back up, our speed brakes. Maybe a half or not. There we go. It says add drag. I'll try half speed brakes. I'm gonna bring the heading around here. Come on, Mr. Heading. Get this ready for the downwind leg. All right, made that error above 12.5. Remember, now it's going to want to be at 210 at Bourbon, but it's doing a nice job on the VTI here. Airport's right out there. City of Las Vegas right there, guys. There's the airport. That looks like it's probably Nellis Air Force Base out there. I don't know. I used to have the Las Vegas, well, I do have the Las Vegas scenery pack, but I don't use it here because it's too much data. It messes you up. All right, now we're looking for read on above 9. The profile's going down to 9 now, and then 8 at Bourbon, 210. We're below 280, and we're below 20,000. I'm going to put some slats out, but it's going to need some drag when it starts its slow down to 210 at Bourbon. I just know that from having flown this. All right, we're below 10,000 above the field level, so we sterilized people, but we don't have any people. We're going to pick them up in Vegas. Yeah, let's say all the corporate execs are at the hotels in Vegas. We're bringing in this brand spanking new MD-11 to bring these guys over to Dallas, where we'll deliver it probably to Alliance Field, which is west of Dallas, where it will be prepped for line flying, vintage 1992. The truth is, we'd fly it all painted up from McDonnell Douglas in American Airlines colors, fly it to Elias Field west of Dallas, where they do all the inspections, and there's 10,000 out of it, and the lights should be all on, as they are. You know, trying to even the runway turn-offs there, get everything lit up like a Christmas tree. All right, there's above 9 at Redon, going down to Bourbon at 210. If you wanted to take it over here, you could. You could go like this, bring the speed back to 210. You could let the profile do it. It's going to do it, but I'm going to do it because I'm going to be vectoring myself in the final here. It certainly would have had no problem doing it. I'm looking for Bourbon at 210 and 8. There's 210, going to 8. Bourbon is now active. 210. You can see that that's actually the FMS speed now too. But we're going to keep it in heading here. We're going to keep it in nav, and we're going to keep it on manual speed.
Altitude.
There's 8,000, Bourbon, and that's the end of the star. So we'll bring ourselves out towards Preno at 8, get out over the lake, take a look around. It's leveling off nicely. Get slats extended, even though it could be clean. There's the field way back there. See the lake out here? This lake is really low, at least it was last time I flew in here a few years ago. You can actually see the water line like up here. I don't know if it still is. It sure seemed like it was like that for a couple of years. And so we have a couple of choices. Now, the reason I have the fix in here, they can say, report the field in sight. Would we want to come in? Well, yeah, we could do it. We're kind of high, so we probably would do a big high diving approach on in. We'll come out. Why don't we plan on coming over Larry at 6,500? They usually wait until you get up over this mountains and take you down in this area on your descent. Well, you always got to be prepared. You can see that fix. We're only 12 miles from the field, so you know, if we fly the route, it's 34 miles. But so 12, they were 6,000 feet above the ground, so we're a little high. So if they did turn us, we would have to get down, slow down. I'd probably get dirty, get slow, and get down to crossing altitude of 3,800 at the FAF, if you remember, for the visual. Yeah, 3,800, which with an elevation of 21, that's really only 2,600 feet above the ground. This Preno, we have programmed that. I'm leaving it in nav because it's just basically flying a heading out here. Now I can actually come up here, get my heading synced up, right there. Now we're in heading hold. And I'm going to get to 6,500 feet over Larry. So I'm going to put in 6,500 over here.
Altitude.
And there's Larry right there. I'll get that armed. And I'll get the heading base turn armed. I haven't gone select yet. I wonder if my little handy dandy works. What am I doing, right? Yeah. I'll get us on a turn. And the reason, guys, this is a tight little turn. It's only 4 miles. So to make this turn, they slow you down. Otherwise, you won't ever make that turn. All right, so I'm going to go heading select, speed select, put out flaps 15, and altitude down to 6,500. So we're, and I'll go 180, and hopefully it can make this turn. You can see that it's tight up here, especially with this high ground speed. And this turn is not going really very fast. There we go. Somehow it came out of that bank. Why don't we go direct Larry on the box? Direct Larry. And come up here, we'll put in the nav. And it will level at 65. We got our flaps 15, 180 knots. We're proceeding direct to Larry. Yeah, my bank had gone into 15-degree mode. And in here, we can start cleaning it up a little bit. I can go back direct Larry. Yeah, it should roll out pretty good. Direct Larry again. What's really important is that your active waypoint is in magenta. And the reason is obvious. If you go missed approach, it's got to know where it is. Direct Larry. Now with that, we come up here and arm approach. Approach land like that. You get land arm. We're going nav, direct Larry. And they could say, maintain present heading, and clear to intercept. So we got land arm, heading select, and here we come. And back here, if you want to look at the box, we're within 25 miles, right? So there it is, auto-tune, 111.5, 259. Remember, the missed approach altitude will be 6,000 when we get in there. Now the prog should be accurate, right? It's we are 16 miles to go. But we're only, remember, it's 2,000 foot, so we're 4,000 feet over the ground. So yeah, we're a little slow. I know. Here's Larry at 6,500. Here comes the localizer course. There's still no glide slope. We're still pretty far out. It's going to intercept the localizer. Right there, low capture. Glide slope is armed. Glide slope capture. How's that? Low capture and glide slope capture. So now we can set 6,000 in the window. Runway heading. And we're flying in. City, Las Vegas. Remember, right-hand turn off, hold short of the inner, and we'll find some place to go pick up those, there's a field out there. Go pick up those guys. Everything looks good here. 180 looks good. Over the tower, they tell us we're clear to land. At 1,500 feet above the ground, which will be around 3,700 feet, 1,500 feet would be around, 3,700 feet. It's going to do a dual land test. These will go to green, and you'll get dual land. Of course, we're not going to do an auto land out of this. You can see that if I went to FMS speed now, that's what it would go to. So we could actually do it, but we're not going to. All right, let's go gear down. We'll be configured on speed at Relin, just to say we did it. And we can go flaps 28, we're below 210. Here comes flaps 28. We can bring our speed back. It's 160. I'll come up here and I'll pull it. Down to green, I'm going to arm the spoilers. I'm going to Auto brakes to min. All right, gears down in green. All right, let's go. Flaps 35, approach speed select. Go to the box. 148. We'll go with 150, guys. All right, so we got Mr. Approach set 6,000, runway heading. We'll go at 4. If we have to go around, it's going around, flaps 28. Positive rate gear up, set Mr. Approach altitude, which is in there. At 400 feet above the ground, we're going to go nav. This will let him fly the Mr. Approach, which is big turn at 30,000 feet, which is 3,200. Right turn and to intercept that boulder radial inbound. And at 1,000 feet, we'll clean it up. That's what we're going to do. That's our plan.
Stabilizer motion.
All right, 4 landing checklist is complete. Clear to land. Autopilot's off. Click it twice, you don't get the autopilot warning. Not really trimmed up there. Wasn't really trimmed up. Bringing it up. Let's go in close so you can see it a little better. One thing that's hard to do in this simulator thing is to demonstrate, because you want you to be able to see outside. I know you guys like that stuff, but it's hard to see the controls when you're flying. It just is, baby. All right, at 40 feet, I'll start braking this thing. Completely start the flare by 30 or 20. Touchdown. Try to keep the nose from touching down or slamming down.
1,000.
Stable. Let's go outside. Start trying to pick up the VASIs we can take over visually. Getting a little high, lower the nose. A little high. Gotta just try 2 degrees there. My cell phone keeps jumping off the charts on me. To the floor. There it is.
400.
Sync rate.
Approaching minimum.
Sync rate.
Minimum.
Sync rate. Glide slow.
Sorry guys,
Glide
that was pretty
slow.
bad.
100.
Pretty bad.
50. 40. 30.
That was bad.
20. 10.
Ruined a perfectly good video. Doing that stuff. Even got a little GSX stuff up there for you. Going into reverse. 3 in reverse. 80 knots start coming out. Fully out of reverse. Yeah, transition to land there. I don't know what the heck I was doing there. Don't know what was happening. But yeah, glide slope was a little low, Got a sync rate window when I was on the flap stop after landing. Let's go find someplace to park. We'll say we hold short of the inbound. Yeah, we're cleared across. Gears up, flaps up, but we're just gonna get the lights. Yeah, very unhappy with the landing there, naturally. Just leave the taxi lights on. Runway turnoffs are off. Strobes are off. Go find ourselves any gate. Any gate will do you. Clear left and right. Let's go to the overhead. Start the APU. I'll have to take a look at that, the transition to land. What I did wrong. I have to see if that glide slope in fact was centered or just brought me in short, or I just let it go down there. Not good. If that was a real aircraft, we would have been complaining quite a bit, rather than just accepting a low approach like that. Let's just go in here. A lot of information. I am going to publish it, and even though I did a crappy landing, and because we just have a lot of information, I really like going in here. All right. Hello, agent. All right. Okay, brakes parked. Let me go down here. I got my fancy dancy. Brakes parked. Go to the overhead. Seatbelt sign is off. Taxi lights off. You can, APU is established. You can chop them. Back to the overhead. Beacons off. See 3 lights, 3 on. The IRSs are off. And I'm gonna go, I gotta get these cargo temps off. Let me see if the GSX works here.
This parking is too small for your aircraft. The boarding requested.
Okay, checklist. Clear of the runway. Landing lights are off. Flap slats are up. Spoil handlers down. Stabilizer chair well 3 degrees up. That's what I need to do. Right now it's 4.3 up. Remember, you're doing that 3 for water drainage, and also so the next guy, when they do the walk around, which should be you, because we're taking this airplane to Alliance, we'll know that it's calibrated properly. Clear the runway. Weather radar off. I didn't do that. Weather radar off. And the APU started. Brakes, seatbelt sign, external power, fuel switches off, cargo temps are off, anti-ice. I didn't shut that off. Let me do that. Windshield anti-ice there. Like that. I think evac switch they have is turn that off. And we turn the emergency lights off when everyone gets off. That. And we turn down cockpit lighting. Spin it all down. And that, that, and the last thing we do is we down the throttle quadrant, make ourselves small, we turn our CRTs off, save on the wear and tear on those.
The boarding starting.
I think we have it. So yeah, really good flight. The airplane did great. We talked ad nauseum here about my transition to land here. Not proud of it. Engine ignition is, engine ignition off. I don't think I did that. It's off. And thank God for checklists, huh guys? Emergency power switch, anti-defog, IRS is off, cockpit lights are off, engine back pointers, you check for exceedances. There's nothing, so we go to the overhead and you can hit reset. And let's get some external power on the airplane. So we can get this thing shut down. GPU will connect. This is for high pressure bleed air. Set the wheel chocks. You check the wheel chocks, you can release the parking brakes. And external power is on the aircraft. It's pretty warm out there, so we're not going to kill it because we want it cool for when people get on board. Let's go outside and see if we can see anything. Oh, look at all these stowaways. Stowaways. All right, guys. That was fun. A lot of good instruction in there. A lot of material, cold, dark, all the way. Delivered this airplane to Las Vegas to pick up all of our executives. And we had some stowaways that are getting off the airplane now that we hadn't expected to be there. But other than the transition to land, it was great. And learned a lot, taught a lot. You guys are the best. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't mind. Follow Times out. See you.